Some defendants will do anything to avoid justice. These are the most unbelievable courtroom escapes ever caught on camera. You'd probably assume the man in the white shirt is a prisoner making a run for it, with the two men behind him acting as security guards in hot pursuit. But what if I told you those guards aren't stopping an escape, they're carrying one out? They're actually two accused murderers disguised as officers, pulling off one of the most outrageous courtroom escapes ever caught on camera. And that's just one of the 11 insane escapes we'll cover in this video. David Knight. This is David Knight facing drug charges in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. When he was called in for what he believed was a routine court hearing, he showed up willingly, but just seconds later, the judge dropped a bombshell. Knight had an outstanding warrant for drug possession and ordered his arrest. Knight, however, had a very different plan in mind. Knight slipped into an elevator just as the doors closed, but once he stepped out, he made a critical mistake. He hesitated. That brief pause caught a police officer's attention, and when Knight bolted, the officer immediately gave chase. Knight sprinted down the street at full speed, but it still wasn't enough to get away. The officer caught up to him just out of camera view, though not without taking some hits in the process. Despite his escape attempt, the judge spared Knight a prison term, giving him 1 year of probation for the drug charges. Thanks to the deputy's swift pursuit, one more criminal was kept off the streets. Kyle Campion. For this next defendant, not even heavy, bulletproof doors could stand in the way of his escape. This is Kyle Campion, facing aggravated robbery charges in Darwin, Australia. With only a single security guard keeping watch, Campion saw his chance when his armed robbery hearing was adjourned, and he seized it. He pushed past the guard, snatched a metal water bottle, and bolted. But Campion quickly ran into a problem. The doors were locked, but thinking quickly, Campion smashed an emergency fire exit door with his water bottle. And barefoot stepped over the shattered glass to make his escape. However, Campion's freedom didn't last long. Police caught him less than an hour later. The judge handed him 19 months for the escape, plus another 2 years for aggravated robbery. Still, he had managed to pull off the courthouse escape entirely on his own. Andrew Worth. In this next case, it takes an entire team of deputies to bring the chaos under control. This is Andrew Worth facing 2 homicide charges in Amoy, Wisconsin. He was arrested for the 2009 shooting deaths of an off-duty police officer and her boyfriend following a bar altercation. When Worth learned of his charges, he completely lost control. When the judge set his bond at $1 million, Worth erupted in anger. Insert clip 2510. A swarm of officers rushed in before he could even attempt to flee, carrying him out of the courtroom like a child. In the end, the judge sentenced Worth to 10 years for his crimes, making his outburst no more effective than a toddler's tantrum. Sidney Newsom. What happens when the judge has to step in? In the case of Sidney Newsom, who is facing domestic violence charges in Pike, Mississippi, the trial takes an unexpected turn. During the proceedings, Newsom is asked to sign some paperwork while his mother and brother watch from the audience. The deputy then delivers the signed documents to the judge, but Newsom has a different plan in mind. When the bailiff blocks his path, the situation quickly becomes tense. The bailiff doesn't wait for the situation to escalate. She firmly takes his elbow and guides him toward the door. But as soon as Newsom realizes her plan, chaos erupts. She manages to grab him by his collar, but can't hold him back for long. Meanwhile, Newsom's mother and brother rush out of their seats in panic. Then the judge got involved. He slammed Newsom onto the table like a sack of potatoes, and then Newsom's brother unexpectedly joined the fray, helping to hold him down. When backup arrived, they arrested the brother but later released him after uncovering the truth. Newsom, however, was dragged out in handcuffs. The judge sentenced him to 48 hours in jail for contempt, effectively putting an end to Newsom's outburst single-handedly. Nicholas Carter. What happens when the responsibility falls to a group of unsuspecting jurors? Take the case of Nicholas Carter, charged with aggravated assault of a minor in Skowhegan, Maine. Carter had just been found guilty of assaulting a 14-month-old child. But rather than accepting the verdict, he decided to take a different course of action. Here is Carter, still handcuffed, caught in the middle of an escape attempt. And this is one of the jurors from Carter's trial. Just moments ago, these 3 jurors were patiently waiting for the rest of the jury to arrive so they could start the deliberation. But when Carter suddenly appeared in the courtroom, everything changed. The juror grabs Carter by his jacket, but it's not enough to stop him. The juror isn't in a hurry, and he has a good reason for it. The deputy is just seconds behind Carter and quickly closing the distance. Not only that, but two jurors have just arrived at court, and upon seeing the escaped convict, they also join the pursuit. At the critical moment, Carter trips and it's all over for him. Carter was dragged back to court and sentenced to 10 years in prison. His unfortunate timing earned him a brand new set of handcuffs. Travis Copeland. What happens when a criminal tries to jump from a skyscraper? In the case of Travis Copeland, who was in court facing a disorderly conduct charge, the answer became clear. While out on bond, Copeland had just pleaded guilty, but fearful of the consequences, he fled the courtroom and ran onto a skyway connecting the courthouse to the jail. However, his escape didn't go as smoothly as he had planned. Officers were waiting for him on the other side of the bridge, leaving Copeland with no choice but to jump through the window. Let's replay that scene like it's straight out of an action movie. Copeland tried to break through the window and plunge onto the busy street below, but the bulletproof glass stopped him dead in his tracks. Now Copeland was truly out of options. His escape attempt landed him with a bond set between $50,000 and $1 million, and likely left him with a sore shoulder to match. Dorius Wright and Calvin House. These are Dorius Wright and Calvin House, both facing armed robbery and murder charges in Nashville, Tennessee. Wright House and two other accomplices were arrested after a robbery went wrong, resulting in the death of a university student. Since all four suspects were under 18, they were sent to a juvenile justice center to await their trial. However, things took a very serious turn. At 9:30 p.m., the group was cleaning the hallway when their supervisor was called away to handle a disturbance. That's when the group seized the opportunity to take action. The 13-year-old hesitated, second-guessing his decision, but just seconds later he followed his friends outside. All staff had responded to the fight on the other side of the building, leaving the hallways clear for the escapees. By the time their supervisor returned to his post, the teens were already long gone, leaving him in a state of panic. Hours later, an emergency task force located Wright and House in the parking lot of a nearby apartment complex. The other two boys were still on the run, but not for much longer. Days later, they were spotted and arrested at a convenience store near the Kentucky border. Two detention center employees were fired for negligence that contributed to the escape. These smart teens seized an unexpected opportunity to their advantage. Paul Wade. In the next case, an entire family is driven by a thirst for revenge, and the judge is unable to stop their relentless pursuit. In the case of Paul Wade, charged with felony possession of a handgun and 2 counts of murder in Louisville, Kentucky, Wade was arrested for stalking and killing 2 roommates in September 2022. In court, he was forced to confront the victims' families, and he did not emerge without consequences. As the court proceedings came to a close, Wade headed toward the door. Suddenly, chaos erupted in the courtroom. Both families charged at Wade, while the judge remained seated, calmly observing the scene. Wade bolted through the judge's door in an attempt to escape, but his attackers were right behind him. Even the judge had lost her composure. As backup rushed after Wade, the remaining family members recounted what had happened. According to the family, Wade whispered an insult at them as he walked out the door, sparking the attack. 4 family members were charged with contempt following the brawl. As for Wade, he faces life in prison for the murders and was caught by the victim's family within seconds. Corey Rohn. In this case, the defendant uses sheer brute force in an attempt to win his freedom. Corey Rohn, charged with unlawful possession of a firearm and resisting arrest in Muskogee, Oklahoma, had spent much of his life in and out of jail. But when the judge sentenced him to return once again, Corey refused to go back. Ignoring the judge's warning, Rohn walked straight out the door. Court staff hurried after him, but he already had a head start. He makes it down 2 flights of stairs without encountering any obstacles until now. A security guard grabbed Rohn by the collar but was dragged down the hallway by the fleeing suspect. The two crashed into a metal detector, breaking the guard's grip. Seconds later, Rohn was gone. The injured guard was taken to the hospital. while the sheriff issued a public advisory about the escape. The police waited for any sign of Ron, but what happened next left them stunned. He turned himself in. Walking into the sheriff's office on his own, Ron was charged with escape and assault. While his final act of repentance might earn him some favor with the judge, his ultimate sentence has yet to be decided. Madison Shy. This is Madison Shy facing assault charges in Bay City, Michigan. Sitting beside her attorney, she was stunned as the judge sentenced her to 1 year in jail. Her reaction? Run. Shy's girlfriend, seated in the audience, stood up to block the officer's pursuit, giving Shy a few precious seconds. The court officers were far behind her, but she still wasn't in the clear. The door guard caught her by the sweatshirt and slammed her against a brick pillar. With assistance from a second officer, Shy was brought to the ground and placed in handcuffs. Her escape attempt added another 98 days in jail for contempt, on top of her original 12-month sentence. Shy's bid for freedom was brought to an end by one brave deputy, Michael Thomas. What happens when an escaping convict has their entire family there to back them up? Take the case of Michael Thomas, a 17-year-old in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, facing 2 counts of first-degree reckless homicide. He was arrested after killing a pregnant woman during an attempted robbery. This was the moment he learned his fate. Thomas's family erupted in anger over how their son was being treated.
Are you okay, sir? Are you okay? Miguel! You okay, baby? Mama got you?
Thomas's outburst was short-lived, as deputies restrained him before he could even leave the room.
Listen, all right, please. No good is going to be done by this courtroom being disrupted, okay? It is only going to make the situation worse.
With Thomas restrained, the police now had a new safety concern for his family. Fortunately, the family eventually settled down. Despite the heightened tensions, the situation ended without any injuries. Outra, from daring dashes to shocking stunts. These escapes prove the courtroom can be as unpredictable as the crimes themselves. Some fugitives were caught in seconds, others stayed free for days, but the law always catches up. If you enjoyed this countdown, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more jaw-dropping moments from the justice system. Until next time, stay alert, because in court, anything can happen.